Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students, Part 1 of the workbook. Lesson 194, I place the future in the hands of God. Today's idea takes another step toward quick salvation, and a giant stride it is indeed. Footnote 411. This lesson is the final lesson identified as a giant stride in the workbook. See Lesson 61, footnote 75 for a complete list of the giant strides. So great the distance is that it encompasses, it sets you down just short of heaven, with the goal in sight and obstacles behind. Your foot has reached the lawns that welcome you to heaven's gate, the quiet place of peace where you await in certainty the final step of God. How far are we progressing now from earth? How close are we approaching to our goal? How short the journey still to be pursued. Accept today's idea and you have passed all anxiety, all pits of hell, all blackness of depression, thoughts of sin, and devastation brought about by guilt. Accept today's idea and you have released the world from all imprisonment by loosening the heavy chains that locked the door to freedom on it. You are saved, and your salvation thus becomes the gift you give the world because you have received. In no one instant is depression felt or pain experienced or loss perceived. 412. This seems to mean that it is only when the mind is identified with past and future that it can experience depression, pain, or loss. When it is fully in the present instant, which here seems to be a reference to the holy instant, a moment in which we experience a changeless reality beyond time and space, these are impossible. In no one instant sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. Let me repeat that. In no one instant, sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. In no one instant can one even die. And so each instant given unto God in passing, with the next one given him already, is a time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death itself. God holds your future as he holds your past and present. They are one to him, and so they should be one to you. Yet in this world the temporal progression still seems real, and so you are not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. 413. By lack of sequence, Jesus means that events are not really happening in sequence. Rather, they are all happening at once, simultaneously. You are but asked to let the future go and place it in God's hand. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and present in his hands as well, because the past will punish you no more, and future dread will now be meaningless. 414. Normally your past misdeeds haunt you in the present, which you spend dreading the future, where you fear those misdeeds will catch up with you. By placing the end of that chain, the future, in God's loving hands, you have given him the entire chain. You have placed the past in his hands because the past will no longer punish you in the future. And you have placed the present in his hands because you will no longer spend the present filled with future dread. Release the future, for the past is gone, and what is present freed from its bequest of grief and misery. It refers to the past, so I'm going to repeat that. I didn't finish the sentence. For the past is gone, and what is present freed from the past's bequest of grief and mercy, of pain and loss, becomes the instant in which the tide escapes the bondage of illusions, where it runs its pitiless, inevitable course. Then is each instant which was slave to time transformed into a holy instant, when the light that was kept hidden in God's Son is freed to bless the world. Now is he free, and all his glory shines upon a world made free with him, to share his holiness. If you can see the lesson for today as the deliverance it really is, you will not hesitate to give as much consistent effort as you can to make it be a part of you. As it becomes a thought that rules your mind, a habit in your problem-solving repertoire, a way of quick reaction to temptation, you extend your learning to the world. 4:16. This sentence is primarily about response to temptation, dispelling upsets by repeating the idea for the day. It envisions you having a problem-solving repertoire, a collection of statements from the course that you mentally keep at hand because you have found them especially helpful in dispelling your upsets. It sees today's idea becoming such an important part of that repertoire that applying it to temptations becomes an automatic habit. And as you learn to see salvation in all things, so will the world perceive that it is saved. What worry can beset the one who gives his future to the loving hands of God? What can he suffer? What can cause him pain or bring experience of loss to him? What can he fear? And what can he regard except with love? For he who has escaped all fear of future pain has found his way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten. He is sure that his perception may be faulty but will never lack correction. He is free to choose again when he has been deceived, to change his mind when he has made mistakes. Place then your future in the hands of God, for thus you call the memory of him to come again, replacing all your thoughts of sin and evil with the truth of love. Think you the world could fail to gain thereby, and every living creature not respond with healed perception? Who entrusts himself to God has also placed the world within the hands to which he himself has appealed for comfort and security. He lays aside the sick illusions of the world along with his, and offers peace to both. Now are we saved indeed, for in God's hands we rest untroubled, sure that only good can come to us. If we forget, we will be gently reassured. If we accept an unforgiving thought, it will soon be replaced by love's reflection. And if we are tempted to attack, we will appeal to him who guards our rest to make the choice for us that leaves temptation far behind. No longer is the world our enemy, for we have chosen that we be its friend. Now we will read the commentary by Robert Perry and Alan Watson. Lesson 194 for July 13th. I place the future in the hands of God. The purpose of today's lesson is to accept today's idea and so pass countless obstacles and set your foot on the lawns before the gate of heaven. This is the last of the workbook's giant strides. So we're going to meditate for 5 to 30 minutes or more. Today, again, there are no specific practice instructions for morning and evening. I would suggest beginning by going through the various situations that are causing you concern. And with each one repeating, I place the future in the hands of God. Then, after about 10 minutes of this, spend the rest of your time in meditation. Sorry, I'm just thinking. Resting untroubled in God's hands, sure that only good can come to you. So hourly for 1 or 2 minutes, reduce if circumstances do not permit. Review the happenings of the previous hour. I'm sorry, I'm shaking my little seal here. She's quite a big seal. She's panting and it's moving my entire seat. I place the future in the hands of God. Okay, so review the happenings of the previous hour that are still weighing on you, and with each one, release the pain as it appears to thrust on you by repeating, I place the future in the hands of God. Response to temptation: whenever you feel tempted to become upset, quickly react by repeating today's idea, realizing that this is an appeal to God to choose for you to abandon temptation. And as you leave temptation behind, the world does as well. If you really see the value in today's idea, you'll give consistent effort to making it a part of your thinking, both today and afterward. Do your utmost to make it a rule of thought, a habit in your problem-solving repertoire, a key device in your response to temptation toolkit. This is the commentary by Alan Watson. The block to remembering ourself that is dealt with in today's lesson is the fear of future pain. Again, the holy instant is a major part of the remedy. All the references to in no one instant, and the instant in which time escapes the bondage of illusions are indirect references to the holy instant, which is directly referred to in 5:3. Then is each instant which was slave to time transformed into a holy instant. The idea is a simple one, placing the future into God's hands. Yet it is referred to as another giant stride toward quick salvation. This giant stride is said to take us all the way to the lawns that welcome us to heaven's gate. It is the remedy for anxiety, pits of hell, depression, thoughts of sin, and guilt. How can this simple idea be so powerful? Think for a moment how your life and your mental attitude would change if you deeply and fully knew, not just believed, but knew, that your future was wholly in the hands of a loving God. Isn't it fairly easy to see how this would remove anxiety, fears of hell, depression, temptation, and even guilt? Simple as it is, this is an extremely powerful idea and a powerful one to practice. Once again, we are not expected to suddenly shift from a state of near constant anxiety. Ernst Becker, in his book The Denial of Death, refers to man's so-called normal state as one in which there is the rumble of panic underneath everything, to one of blissful trust of God. We are being asked to practice having instants of such trust, free from panic. For a moment, just a moment, let the future go and place it in God's hands. In doing so, we will understand that by doing this, we have given past and present to God as well. In that holy instant, we will be free of grief and misery, pain and loss. The light within us will be free to shine and bless the world. In any particular instant, when we take that instant for itself, without past or future, we cannot feel depression, experience pain, or perceive loss. Nor can we experience sorrow or even die. Every such experience depends on our awareness of the past or future to sustain it and give it the illusion of reality. But none of them exist in the present moment. Take grief, for instance. Grief is so clearly based on the past that it hardly requires explanation to say that if the past were momentarily put out of our minds, grief would vanish. The mind is calling up memories of our loved one and then insisting that the absence of that loved one now demands emotional pain. Yet, when the loved one was part of our life, there were thousands of moments in which they were, not physically present with us, and we were still happy. Why then can we not be happy now? Grief is really nothing more than a cruel mental trick we are playing on ourselves. The future enters into grief because we envision an endless string of moments that lack the beloved. But those moments are not now. Again, it is a mental trick. Grief does not exist when we are wholly in the present moment, in the holy instant. As we learn to give the future into God's hands, one instant after another, we are released. And so each instant given unto God in passing, with the next one given Him already, is a time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death itself. Note the similarity to yesterday's practice of applying forgiveness at the end of each hour to all that has passed in the hour, freeing the hour that follows. This kind of thing, says the lesson, needs to become a thought that rules your mind, a habit in your problem-solving repertoire, a way of quick reaction to temptation. That is what all this practice is about, developing new habits of spirituality that break the pattern of our deranged thinking, freeing us for a new experience. The more we experience, the more we will want it, until eventually it takes over our minds entirely. Beautiful lesson, another beautiful lesson from A Course in Miracles. Lesson 194. I place the future in the hands of God. Thank you so much for joining with me. Please join me in the meditation. I love you. Thank you.